Did you know that the world's deadliest virus is actually on your side? Right now, as you're watching this, there are millions of tiny killers hunting inside your body. And before you panic, they're not after you. They're after something way worse. See, most people hear the word virus and immediately think of something that makes you sick. Something your body has to fight off. Something dangerous. But what if I told you that one of the most lethal, most efficient, most ruthless killers on the entire planet is living inside you right now? And it's completely on your side. Meet the bacteriophage. And once you understand what this thing actually does, and more importantly how it does it, you're never going to look at your own body the same way again. So first things first. What even is a bacteriophage? The name itself actually gives it away if you break it down. Bacterio meaning bacteria. Phage coming from the Greek word meaning to devour. So literally a bacteria eater. But calling it just a bacteria eater is honestly doing it the biggest disservice possible. Because the way this thing operates isn't just eating. It's more like a full-scale military invasion. A precision strike. An infiltration so calculated and so brutal that scientists have been studying it for over a century and are still genuinely shocked by it. And the wildest part? This has been happening inside your body your entire life. Every single day. Without you ever feeling a thing. Now, before we get into how the bacteriophage actually kills, we need to talk about why it doesn't kill you. Because that's the first question everyone asks. If this thing is such an efficient killer, why aren't we dropping dead the moment it shows up? And the answer comes down to one very specific, very important difference between bacteriophages and every other virus you've ever heard of. Normal viruses, your flu, your common cold, things like COVID, they target your cells. Your healthy, functioning human cells. They get inside, they hijack them, they replicate, and in the process they destroy your body from the inside out. That's why you feel terrible. That's why your immune system goes into full panic mode. Because the thing attacking you is going directly after you. Bacteriophages don't do that. They have what scientists call host specificity, which is just a fancy way of saying they are locked onto one target and one target only. Bacteria. Not your liver cells. Not your lung cells. Not your blood cells. Bacteria. It's like having a hitman living in your house who only has one name on his list. And that name isn't yours. And considering that your body is constantly being invaded by harmful bacteria every single day, bacteria that does want to destroy your healthy cells, having millions of these things patrolling your system starts to sound a lot less terrifying and a whole lot more like the greatest security system ever designed. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because it's not just what the bacteriophage hunts. It's how it hunts. And I'm going to walk you through this step by step, because honestly, the process is so specific, so mechanical, so almost robotic in its precision that it barely feels like something biological. It feels like something an engineer designed. So picture this. A single bacteriophage, and we're talking something so small here that you could fit billions of them on the period at the end of this sentence, is floating through your body, moving through your bloodstream, your gut, your tissues. And then it finds one. A bacteria cell. Now this is where things start to get genuinely insane. The bacteriophage doesn't just crash into the bacteria and hope for the best. It lands on it. Deliberately. Carefully. Like a spacecraft docking onto a space station. And it has legs to do it. Actual leg-like structures called tail fibers that extend out from the bottom of its body. These fibers are incredibly specific. They're designed to recognize and lock onto specific receptor sites on the surface of the bacteria. Think of it like a key and a lock. The bacteriophage's legs are the key. The bacteria's surface is the lock. And when they connect properly. The phage latches on, and it is not letting go. So now you've got this virus, standing on top of a bacteria cell, locked in place by its own legs. And at this point, if you were the bacteria, you'd be in serious trouble. Because what comes next is where it goes from impressive to horrifying. Underneath the bacteriophage's body, right at the point where it's now anchored onto the bacteria, it has these sharp, spike-like structures. And once those tail fibers have locked on and pulled the phage down close enough, those spikes drive straight through the bacteria's outer wall. Just punch right through it. And then the phage pushes down, using what scientists describe as a spring-loaded mechanism. This little molecular machine essentially compresses and then releases, driving the phage's base plate through the bacteria's surface layer by layer until it hits the inner membrane. Until it is fully, completely, irreversibly locked in. The bacteria at this point has no idea what's about to happen to it. It has no defense. No escape. No way out. Because what comes next is the part that honestly still blows my mind every time I think about it. Connected to the bacteriophage's head, which is basically just a protein shell shaped a bit like a geometric crystal, there is a hollow tube, like a tiny biological syringe. And inside that head, packed incredibly tightly, is the phage's DNA. Its genetic code, its blueprint, its instructions. And now that the phage has locked itself onto the bacteria and pierced through its wall, that tube pushes through, into the bacteria. And the DNA from the phage's head gets injected directly into the bacteria cell. Not slowly, not gently. It essentially gets fired in. And this is where the word hijacking doesn't even feel strong enough for what actually happens next. See, every living cell, including bacteria, runs on a kind of internal machinery, a biological operating system, if you want to think of it that way. It reads genetic instructions and carries them out. It builds proteins. It replicates. It functions. And that machinery doesn't really check whose instructions it's following. So when the bacteriophage's DNA gets injected into the bacteria's own machinery just starts following it. It can't tell the difference. It reads the phage's genetic code the same way it would read its own. And what do those instructions say? Make more of me. The bacteria, this thing that was just trying to survive, just trying to do whatever bacteria does, suddenly becomes a factory, completely against its will, producing component after component of new bacteriophages. The head, the tail, the fibers, the spikes, the DNA to fill each new one. Over and over and over. Dozens of copies, sometimes hundreds, all assembling inside this one single bacteria cell that had absolutely no say in the matter. And the whole time, the bacteria is still technically alive, still functioning, still running its machinery, except now its machinery is being used entirely for someone else's benefit. It's one of the most brutal things that happens in nature, and it's playing out in your gut right now. And then it ends, because there reaches a point, and it comes fast, where there are simply too many bacteriophage copies packed inside the bacteria for it to contain anymore. And so the bacteria explodes. Not metaphorically. Literally. The cell wall ruptures and bursts open, and all of those newly assembled bacteriophages spill out into the surrounding environment inside your body. This process is called lysis, and it is as violent as it sounds. One bacteria cell gone, destroyed from the inside out, and in its place, anywhere from 50 to several hundred brand new bacteriophages, each one ready to go find another bacteria cell and do the exact same thing all over again. Now there's actually a second way this can go, which is a little less dramatic, but in some ways even more fascinating. Instead of immediately destroying the bacteria, some bacteriophages will actually insert their DNA into the bacteria's own genetic code and just wait. They go dormant, quietly living inside the bacteria, being copied every time the bacteria replicates, passing themselves onto daughter cells, essentially hiding inside the bacteria's own genome, until something triggers them. Stress, environmental changes, certain chemicals, and then they wake up, pull their DNA back out, switch into attack mode, and begin the full replication cycle, destroying the bacteria from the inside just like before. Scientists call these temperate phages, and the strategy is honestly kind of genius. Why rush when you can wait for the perfect moment? So let's just take a second to appreciate what's actually going on here. Inside your body right now, in your gut, in your bloodstream, in your tissues, there are an estimated 380 trillion bacteriophages, which, for context, is more than every other biological entity in your body combined. More than your own cells. More than your gut bacteria. More than anything else. They've been there since basically the moment you were born. Possibly even before. And every single day, without any instruction from you, without any conscious effort on your part, they are hunting. Finding harmful bacteria. Locking on. Injecting. Hijacking. Destroying. And repeating. It's an immune system within your immune system. A microscopic army that operates completely independently, completely efficiently, and completely for your benefit. And here's the thing that scientists are now getting genuinely excited about. Because we're living in a world where antibiotic resistance is becoming one of the scariest medical problems we've ever faced. Bacteria are evolving. They're developing resistance to the drugs we've relied on for decades. And there are now strains of bacteria out there that we genuinely don't have good treatments for. But bacteriophages? Bacteria can't just become resistant to them the same way, because phages evolve too. They adapt. When bacteria change, phages change with them. It's an arms race that's been going on for billions of years, and the phages have never lost. Which is why scientists are now looking seriously at what's called phage therapy. The idea of using specific bacteriophages as targeted treatments for bacterial infections. Instead of a broad antibiotic that kills everything, you use a phage that goes after exactly the bacteria you want to destroy and nothing else. It's precision medicine at the most microscopic level imaginable. And it's been living inside you, working perfectly for your entire life. So next time someone tells you viruses are always the enemy, remember the bacteriophage. One of the deadliest, most efficient killers ever to exist on this planet. And it's been on your side the whole time.